Welcome to Unapologetically Sensitive, a place to find connection and a sense of belonging, where you can learn, relate, laugh, and maybe even live a bolder, brighter life. I'm your host, Patricia Young. This is a weekly podcast where we talk about sensitivity and the richness that it adds, the strengths we have because of our sensitivity, and some of the challenges it poses as well. The information in this podcast is not a substitute for help from a licensed mental health professional. Hey there, to the creatives, healers, sensitives, and deep thinkers. Today's a really interesting episode. I think you're going to enjoy it, especially if you're an animal lover and you're open to the idea of animal communication. Here's where having expectations and an agenda can really kind of impede us being able to experience what's happening in the moment. I love this episode. I love the things that Liz says. At the end, I'm going to jump on and tell you a little bit. I'm going to give you a follow-up to some of the things that she says. But what happened is I started listening to her podcast and started thinking about what I think Gracie would be saying to me. And as many of you know, Gracie is my one-eyed wonder dog. And before I recorded with Liz, I made a huge list of questions I wanted to ask. I actually made a recording of all the things that I thought that she was going to say in response to my question because I felt so tuned into Gracie. You will not be hearing that recording because what I thought and what Liz said were so far off. And what happened is this really interfered with my ability to take in the information that Liz was saying in the moment because I felt like I already had an expectation that I knew what she was going to say and how I thought Gracie was going to respond. We just get to learn from this, right? So I let the episode sit for a few weeks. It's kind of what my production schedule looks like anyways. I got a transcript of the audio so that I could also look at it and it helped me with some editing. I continued to listen to Liz's podcast. I didn't feel like what she said wasn't true, but I just wasn't able to make those connections because I had such a clear expectation of what I expected her to say that I wasn't really able to take in what she was saying. When I went in and edited and did reviewing of the transcript, I really saw that, one of the things is like, I really wanted to hear what Gracie had to say about how much she appreciates me and how I care for her because she does require a lot of care and I love providing care for her. It was there. It's in the audio. You're going to hear it. It's in the transcripts. But because I was expecting it to sound like one thing, I really missed what she said. And this happened a number of times in this episode where I got the information that I was asking for, but because I was looking for something else, I just wasn't able to take it in. And the reason why I bring this up is I think this happens a lot for us when we have expectations and we think that we're going to see or get or hear something and we get something else. It doesn't mean that what we get isn't valid. We just miss kind of some of the truth because we're not able to hear what we're hearing because of an expectation. Let me tell you a little bit about Liz, and then I'm going to come on at the end and give you a follow-up about some of the things that Liz said. Liz Murdoch has been a true dog whisperer for most of her life. She first discovered this special skill when she was in kindergarten and then further honed it throughout her life, winning awards in dog training and becoming certified to do animal-assisted therapy with patients of all ages. A veteran volunteer with rescue organizations, Liz is happiest when translating what dogs and other animals want their people to know. She hosts the podcast Talking with the Dogs and is available for private chat sessions, special events, and speaking engagements. I just want to thank you so much for listening, for sharing the podcast. You're doing an amazing job. And if the podcast is resonating with you and you're willing to post on social media, tell a friend about it, tell a relative, post. I really want everybody to know about the trait of high sensitivity. The world needs highly sensitive people. We are the ones that are really going to bring peace and change and justice to the world. I mean, everybody's going to do that, but the world needs us. And now, on to the show. Hey, Liz, welcome.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here today.
Before we started recording, I told you, I think it's Christmas today. I've been waiting for this interview all day long. And I told you, I'm just afraid I'm going to make it all about me. So you have all the permission in the world to talk about what's important to you because I'm just so freaking excited.
Thank you.
Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about how you got started doing the work that you do?
We look back in our lives and it's like, it was a clear path. And when I signed up for an animal communication class. I moved from Northern California to Southern California, and I took a little intro class, and it was rather easy for me to do the assignments. So I have been doing it my whole life. It was kindergarten. I remember so vividly. I can see the dog. It was a standard gray poodle, and it had purple nails, and I can see the purple, and it had a purple matching bow. And I stood there, and it was show and tell. And I was like, the dog did not like being a show and tell dog with the purple nails. And I had never seen anything like that, but I knew that the dog didn't want to be doing that, but it was being a good sport. And that made a big impact. But and then I, memories, bits and pieces. Then I got my dog when I finally got one, a couple years later, and it was easy training him, and he just followed me around, and we ended up winning the blue ribbon and with all adults at the dog show. It was just easy, but I didn't know it. I just knew I loved dogs. And then I had a dog, and I wanted to train it, and I wanted a therapy dog. And I'd been in a bad car accident. And I guess from all my work recovering from a head injury, I wanted to have a therapy dog to help people too. It was like a knowing pull in me that I had to do that. And it wasn't until we got certified with what's now Pet Partners, and I found out that it's actually quite hard to be a certified dog therapy team. And it was just luck of the draw that the dog that I picked out as an adult was such a quick study, and we became a team, and we did it. And I was looking at him one day, and I thought, wow, I know what he's thinking sometimes. And I didn't think it was anything communication. I knew what I knew, that I can look at my dog and I know what he's thinking. And so it was like moments like that scattered that sort of led me down this path to talking with dogs where it's like other people's dogs. And I have the confidence to look at a dog and say, well, your dog really likes such and such, and feel confident and not embarrassed to say it. And it's just like, I've been doing this my whole life. I just didn't realize it.
That's amazing. Do you identify as a highly sensitive person?
I do. Now that I know what one was, I didn't probably realize. I guess it became more mainstream over, I don't know, the last 10 years or something. But yes, definitely. I actually have a child who's a highly sensitive person too.
Gotcha.
So yes, I think I really became aware of what that was when I became a parent. And I've had people say to me, oh, you're so intuitive, or you're more sensitive. But, sometimes people say it in a bad way, which isn't very fun.
Sure.
But yeah, I would say I've known it for many years. Yes, I wasn't a surprise at all. I sort of laughed actually when you reached out. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a good candidate for that.
So can we get started? I'm just really impatient.
Oh yeah, sure. And that's common. I get that all the time when people find out what I do. They hand me their phones in stores and say, here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay. So you showed me a picture real quick, and you did say that you really wanted to do this. I don't know anything about your dog other than the picture.
Okay.
And so I talk about this in my show. I usually ask for certain things like, how old is your dog? Who lives with the dog in the home, family? But I'm not going to do that. Someone said, can you try and see what it's like when you do it without? And it will help people who might be sort of on the fence. So about whether this is real. So I'm not going to ask anything. All I know is you asked me to be on your podcast. You have this white Maltese. What is your white dog's name? Just out of courtesy. So I can refer. Gracie. Okay. So
and
Gracie.
Look at me.
Yes. Okay. So Gracie, when I saw the picture, you held Gracie up to the phone as we were getting set up to do the interview, and I'm tuning into her. She actually does like it. In terms of her personality, I'm sitting on my couch, set up for a podcast with my eyes closed, tuning into Gracie. Gracie can be very matter of fact. She has her preferences. She's stubborn. She doesn't like the word stubborn. I'm trying to get the word straight, because she's like persnickety about her opinions and how she likes things. She doesn't want to be forced to do things she doesn't want to do. And she says that you respect that. She says most of the time, but that sometimes you have a power struggle, and it's not you. It's that she loves you very much. It's not you having power issues. She says you're a sweetheart. She has control issues, that she really wants things a certain way. And she's sorry about that, but it's just her nature. It's who she is. She likes a lot of structure. I don't think you've told me how old she is, but
I haven't.
Okay. But she's telling me that she's lived long enough that she has no interest in changing her ways. And that I guess there's something you are trying to change, and she really doesn't want to have anything to do with that.
Okay.
That you have any thoughts on that or questions?
How much do you want me to say?
So I'm open, because I'm open for you to say, well, I'm not sure what you're talking about. You can say whatever you want to say. First of all, it's your show. So you can say whatever you want to say.
I have a little bit of an idea of what she may be talking about, but for the most part, I'm going like, I'm not really understanding that what you're sharing and my experience of her is not super congruent. So I'm just kind of curious.
Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to say, Gracie, can you be specific? And she's showing me a picture of dog food. And I see like a mound of moist food, and I'm trying to figure it out. You're in the kitchen, and it has to do with food. She has opinions about food, and it's of what she would like. I guess she has preferences on what she would like.
That was one of my questions.
Okay, so yeah, she has that. She has strong preferences. People ask me how I do this. I get it. So I actually am starting to feel in my throat. There's some food that doesn't make her feel her best. It's like this tightness in my lower throat and into my chest. She has strong preferences, and there needs to be an adjustment on the food. She says you're not getting it exactly, but she's not helping. It's just not right. I guess she's saying she wants to change in something. Is this making any sense? She doesn't like, she's sort of all over the place. Like she's giving mixed messages, which I think she gives to you, which is why you even had a question.
May I give you some information?
Sure.
So she's highly allergic, and we went through about a year of allergy testing and food trials. And so I home make pork and brown rice for her, and then I add a couple things in. I don't give her very many other things because she has such a strong allergic reaction. I haven't changed her food, but I just wonder if there are other things that she can eat that I can give her. We did a trial on so many types of the hypoallergenic dog foods, and it just didn't work. So she's been eating the same thing for quite some time, but I just wonder, like, can I be giving her more because she has such strong reactions?
So, yeah, I'm feeling like gagging. Like when you said the pork, the first thing I was like, the ratio of the pork, cut it back. First of all, anyone in animal communication will say, I'm not diagnosing. You know, right. I can tell you what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling. I feel gagging with the amount of pork that's in there. And I'm wondering how she's doing with the quantity of the pork. And if you can adjust that. There's a lot of people out there in the healthy food dog business who say add the greens, add vegetables that your dog can tolerate, find those. So maybe there's something in that you can adjust. But I think the current combination, that's like, I mean, I had a physical reaction that was not me with my preference to food. It was her feeling how the animal feels, and that's part of how I work. Does she sometimes stand there and look at it and sniff it and walk away or do something weird with her tail? And
yes, and she goes through periods where she won't eat for a few days. It hasn't happened for a while, and then we give her something else that she can't tolerate for very long just to get her eating again. Okay.
And oh gosh, so Gracie's saying you'll know. Like, I guess, like a measuring spoon, like a third out, or you'll know. She totally trusts you.
Okay.
So it's not like she's resentful. She's uncomfortable.
Okay. All right.
So sometimes I like to clear out a thing. Are you satisfied with the answers on that topic, or do you want to continue moving on? And then, so I want to ask you that, and then I'm going to ask Gracie if she has anything more to say about the food.
I do have another question, but I'm concerned that this is not interesting to the listener. So I'm going to hold on to my other question, and I'm ready to move on if she is.
Okay. So she's funny. She says, what it can be interesting to the listeners is how intuition can work, because whether it's me tuning into a dog by the different messages I'm getting, whether like I feel nauseous or I see an image of the dog in the kitchen, that's the same gut feeling that any highly sensitive person, and I'm not a professional on them, but I know a lot, that when you have a gut feeling, whether it's about a contractor who's going to work in your house or the price of something or whatever it is, that's really important to acknowledge. And so that's what, and I'm getting Gracie's like, tell them that, because that's what people need to trust. Like your audience is learning about how to accept being a highly sensitive person and embrace the gifts that come with it. Okay. And part of it is trusting and understanding how you get information.
Okay. Maybe she needs to have a podcast. Maybe
so. I mean, if I've got one talking with the dogs where I interview dogs, why not a dog to You never know.
Okay. What else can you tell me?
Oh, about Gracie?
Yeah.
Okay. So she doesn't like when she has to sleep on the floor and it's not cushy enough. Sometimes she has to plop down on it's too thin. She says, can we have more beds? Or I guess she's got her favorite spots, but there is one place where she has to lay. She goes, she's grateful that she gets to lay in the sun and she has such a nice home life. But she says, could I just have it cushier? My joints get sore. She wants padding and cushiness.
I think it's on the back patio because everywhere in the house there's carpeting or a dog bed. So the only place where she doesn't have that option is out on the back patio where she likes to sun.
Yeah, she's like, she knows she's being oh God, I see the letter P. It's like pushy, particular. She's particular. She says she knows she's particular. Oh gosh, but she'd really like to have that cushion out there.
Okay, that's totally doable.
Okay, so that's the other thing. Let's see, what else would she? Oh yeah, she says she likes the idea of her own show because she has a lot to say. She says she's seen a lot of different things, and she could talk about cats. She says, is that true?
She loves cats.
Yeah,
she really likes cats, but cats don't trust her.
Yeah. Yeah, she says she would like to actually talk about cats.
That's very funny.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I love going on about this. You know, that's why I have my own podcast, but I don't want to hijack it and tell you more things. So you're going to have to tell me if I should go on. I mean, I'll go on until you tell me to stop. I felt like I was hearing her talk and saying I could talk about cats. She could talk about, I guess in the olden days, and when she was younger, she liked socks. I guess she likes the smell of socks. That comes up a lot with dogs. There's been situations where there have been more people around. And again, I don't know anything about your life and your life with her or how long you've had her. I could talk about her favorite thing. She likes smelling things in the house more so than outside. Outside's good, but she's very content, she says. I see the word content. When I do this, I try and use the words that the animals give me, and it makes it more interesting and it's real. House smells are easier for her than outside smells. She also feels safer with house smells.
Huh, that's interesting. Okay.
Does any of that, I mean, in terms of verifying or that you can see why she would say that?
Well, she does love socks. She loves to pick up our socks and old socks that I have a hole and I tie them together in a knot and put them out. Yeah, was she referring to when we're outside of the house or here in the house? Do you know?
I think the word she feels safer from sudden movements inside of the house.
Okay.
But I don't think it's people outside. I think it's rustling noises. Mm-hmm. She's not sure about I see an image of like a greenery in a bush, and the rustling makes her skittish. She doesn't like sudden movements inside of the house. So people, she doesn't associate them with, it's not about the people, it's about the legs and the feet and the speed in which they're going. That's what makes her I've had animals come right out and say, I don't like one of the roommates. She's showing me images about feet and legs and the speed in which they go, that they could even be yours.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not even wanting really to divulge anything about, she feels that she can't move out of the way fast enough.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I see khaki pants. I don't think she sees color very well anyway, so it's like irrelevant. She's afraid she's going to get stuck between the legs, or the loud noise, whether it's like a vacuum. It's just those kinds of situation and not people. She really feels strongly that you and people understand that what she's saying is that it's not about them.
Okay. Are you able to do a health scan on her or kind of check in with what's going on with her physically?
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to take a deep breath and sort of clear all that out. And then I'm going to ask Gracie if I can look within her body, if there's anything she wants to show me. The first word that came was the word kidney, like a stone. I see the word kidney, and then I see a round thing, like a brown pebble. It could be past, because it's not like she's in pain. It's more like she's showing me, like if a child was at school and is handing up a piece of paper to show the teacher, she's doing it more that way.
Mm-hmm.
I've had lots of different ways that animals have communicated something within their body, and this is definitely a first. Did she have something with a kidney in the past?
I think that she did. The vets deny it, but she had something twice where she would not lay down, and she kind of did a downward dog, and I could tell she was in a lot of discomfort. And I took her to the vet, and they didn't know what it was, but it was very clear to me that she was in a lot of discomfort. And when we would walk, her tail was not up, it was down, which means something's going on with her. So,
right.
And I thought it was a stone, and the vet said no.
Vets are human, and vets can make mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not saying that I'm right. I can certainly make a mistake too.
Sure.
But I see a kidney stone from the past.
Okay.
So that's what she's saying. We can't verify it.
Sure.
I certainly don't want to put any vets down, other than I think many, many good vets would say, yeah, sometimes we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go in and see if there's anything now. I will say that you talk to another animal communicator tomorrow, they might get something different, just like you can go to an eye doctor who can tell you about your eyes, but say nothing about your broken foot. Just a little disclaimer. But I'm going to do what I see or hear or feel with her.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see what else she wants to talk about. Okay. So she doesn't let much hinder her. Okay. So it's from the head down through the neck and the front. And I think it has to do with her eyes, that she's having trouble seeing. And so, and having trouble seeing affects her thinking sometimes, but like when she hides it. Like that's why she really likes her creature comforts, because then she can rest and recharge. She's sort of like that. It's like she says she's slowing down. Things are working, but they're slower. And it's not like, she goes, not by any means do we need to rush out and do anything. Not by that. That's an expression, I think. Is that something you would say, not by any means?
Maybe. I worry a lot about something happening to her. And whenever she gets sick, I totally go to like, how am I going to manage when she's not here? Because I'm even getting tearful just talking about it. She just lifted up her head and she's looking at me.
She cares so much. She understands that. So that is very common, very common. I did a session. It was probably a highly sensitive person, because that's all we talked about. And I was looking at this dog, and this dog was so healthy. And she kept saying, what am I going to do? And I think that's because we can't imagine it. And it's horrible. But from the work I've done with dogs over many, many years, and I have had my own dogs pass, I know what it's like to grieve. When you've had the dog you're convinced is the best dog ever, 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 ever on the planet, I know what that is like. I've been there. But I've learned that when dogs go, and I really believe this, when they go, they leave us at a time that is like divine time for us too. It may not seem like it, but we're okay. It will be any dog's time to go when it happens. And we can't understand why. Sometimes animals pass really quickly and we think it's horrible. And then I've communicated with an animal and the animal says, I went quickly because you would have hated to see me suffer.
Wow.
And I was like, wow. When that dog told me that, I mean, I was like, oh my gosh. Dogs, when they cross over, it is so different. Or dogs that it seemed like they were suffering and they're like, no, I wasn't suffering. You were suffering more than I was. And I hated seeing you that way. So I hung on until whatever happened. It's just the animals, it's different to them. It's that I just think what she would want you to know is that you don't need to use the time that you have with her now worrying about then. She does not. You do not need to do that because she will live her life. Like this other dog that had passed away. This was from a session. The dog said, my life was done. It was like a masterpiece and it was done. Like when an artist knows a picture is done. It turned out that this family had art in their home so they could understand that analogy. That was how the dog described it. It wasn't me. What Gracie is saying, however, and I'm going to be quiet for and tune in, is that she's like, I will never leave you. Her message about that is do not spend our time together worrying about how you will go on without me. Do not. Because she says that is something that you would say to her or to a loved one is do not worry about. It's not like tomorrow. It's live our hours. And it's not that she has hours. It's just like live our hours fully.
Okay.
It's so much better that way because we don't know. That's on one of my podcast episodes. Somebody else was asking a question about that. And it's a big question. We think, how are we going to get by? And the animals, I mean, they all have different answers. We already know when we get a dog and we open up our hearts, we know that they have a different lifespan. And, most of us think that, well, I've got another, at least 15 or 20 years. So depending on the dog, I'm going to outlive my dog. But dogs don't look at it that way. They're like, I'm going to live this day fully. And I've never met a dog that said, I'm worried about what's going to happen. Like they're about now. And the dogs that have crossed over are all about love.
Sure.
And it's like, it will be its divine time when it happens.
Okay.
And we can't avoid grief. This is her talking too, is we can't avoid grief. We can't avoid our dirty dishes. It's like the food issue that she has. She says you paid your dues with this food thing. And she appreciates that. I guess you've had to brush her and clean her up too, because she's had unpleasant episodes from the food. Right.
She just doesn't always keep her food down. So it's not really a big deal she doesn't keep it down. I clean it up.
But in terms of other people, like listeners, some people would, quite frankly, get rid of the dog. It's too much work. That's what she means. You two have paid your dues through figuring out allergic reactions to food, the mess that can happen on a dog that has white fur, to clean it up when she can't control her body. She's having an allergic reaction, and you just take it in stride. And so you've paid your dues with that. And she wants you to just live your life and savor this time together.
Okay. Is there anything else medically I need to know?
See her, she needs her nails trimmed regularly.
They get trimmed regularly.
Yeah, that makes a big difference because if when she doesn't, they get sort of ingrown or problems develop, she says. She doesn't like to talk about it. She doesn't like it being trimmed, but she knows she needs it because it's really bad when they're not trimmed. Medical issues come out of them not being trimmed.
Is it possible that she's talking about before we got her?
Possible, yeah. I mean, she's not separating. She's just talking about her life, but I can ask her to be specific about that.
I would imagine that would have been true before we got her, but we've had her now. Can I tell you how long we've had her?
Yeah, it's your show.
We've had her for almost 6.5 years. And the picture that we have when she came to us is she was just unkempt and her hair was incredibly long. And it wouldn't surprise me if her nails were long as well. But since we've had her, she gets groomed regularly and her nails are clipped. So, yeah.
So you've never know, maybe in the past she had issues when her nails weren't trimmed and it was uncomfortable.
Before she came to us.
Yeah, that's important to her. Okay, so I'll ask about like here and now medically, what else? Because the kidney stone was in the past probably, but the doctor wasn't sure that it was. You thought it might be.
Yeah.
The eyes, does she get eye drops?
No, do you want me to tell you about her eyes?
Let me check in more. Do they get cloudy? I see medically, what I see is that they get cloudy and that I asked about drops because I get this irritated feeling that it's like I want eye drops. So I'm wondering what is it that she gets for her eyes? So medically, I see something with her eyes.
Let me know when you want me to respond.
Okay, you can respond. I think that's what makes it interesting for the listeners, I think.
So she has one eye. When we got her, they had removed one of her eyes. They told me that her vision was fine, but I had a harness on her and I took her down some stairs and she went careening down the stairs because she didn't see them. So we knew that her vision was impaired, and over time, my belief is that if she were a person, she would be legally blind. You know, she will bump into things. I taught her to step up, step down when we go upstairs or curbs. She does get a little turned around, and so her pupil is totally dilated. It just does not contract, and she has a number of, I'm assuming they're congenital health issues. This is one of them.
Wow. So, yeah. Does she get ongoing, like, eye checks?
No, like we haven't done anything because really I think she's blind. I mean, she will walk into things if she's not familiar with things. She's very confident. And I think because of the work that I did with her when I knew that she was having some vision problems, she's an incredibly confident dog. You know, like I was walking her and there was a scooter and she couldn't tell what it was and she started to growl. And I'm like, it's okay, check it out, which is kind of my thing. And then she's like, she'll sniff it and then she's good. So I feel like we communicate very well together and she's not a fearful dog for having as many deficits as she has.
Yeah, so that makes sense about the people thing, that it's not about the people, it's about the speed at which they're moving because she can't see very well. She's not around them at times at the speed in which they're moving. What would you say?
Well, you know, since I've had her, I've been very protective. And, you know, we tell anybody that comes in the house, the dog can't see, so you need to walk around her. So I don't think, you know, unless something's happening when I'm not around, I think she's very, very well taken care of. I don't have little kids anymore. I think everybody's really respectful. So I think that that's something from the past.
Okay.
Because I'm kind of her eyes when I take her out.
Right. Okay.
Is there anything else health-wise about her that I need to know?
She likes being pampered. So it's sort of like, well, you've asked. I'm trying to tell you this eye thing is that might be nice.
Okay.
Is there anything more urgent?
I'm curious to know about her back right leg. It seems like it's a little stiff. I notice when I walk her, but I don't know if she's in any pain or discomfort.
She says it slows her down. There was a dog, somebody asked me about a dog, an issue in the mouth. And I said, oh, yes, it's inflamed. I think it's very sensitive. You should go to the doctor. And she did. I said, when was the last time you went? And she did. And the dog had an abscess. So if there was something urgent pain, I would tell you. That's why I share that story. So I can see that it's different from the other, like it's noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
But to her, it slows me down. Let's keep going.
Okay.
I've told people their animals did not want to go to the vet, and she'd go. She's up for anything. She'll go with you. She sort of likes outings with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like she doesn't want to go to the vet, but she says it's not enough that we need to go take care of it. It's, if anything, like, do we need to do anything for you? She says. She's like very into you. Like, maybe you should go to the doctor. She's sort of funny like that. And no, she's like, it slows me down. I've lived a good life. I'm getting older. How old is she? I have no idea.
Probably about 8.5.
Okay. No, she's like, it's sort of like, so I see this image of her on a walk. She doesn't want to miss the walk. If she's going to have a shorter walk to go to the vet to get her leg checked, she's like, let's go for the walk.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, so what? It flips out a little bit, you've got your thing. She's kind of like, oh, wow. Yeah. She's feisty sometimes.
Yep.
Okay. So where would you like to go now?
She has other health issues. Like, I don't know that we need to discuss them. I don't know that it's relevant, but she's got some major things. So I don't know if that's helpful or if we just want to move on.
Well, I'll do whatever. I didn't know if you want to get to something else major. I mean, again, it's your show. I'll do whatever. So the head, it went down from the eyes to her head, down the front of her to the paw. Like it was darker. So I'm trying to figure out what that is. Oh, so her skin gets itchy sometimes.
Yes.
It gets red.
And she does a lot of licking.
Yeah. So
she pulls the hair out.
Yeah. It gets a pinkish red. Sometimes it gets very red.
That's more old than current. It's most. Okay. Do you want me to tell you or no?
But it's there. You can do whatever you want.
I just don't want to ruin it, and I just want to give you information.
Oh, yeah. So the reason I say, I could clearly we could keep going on, is trying to educate. My goal was educating people how it works, and that what I risk for some people is that if you tell me things, the naysayers, and I know there's always that for whatever, will say, oh, well, she told you that. And I'm trying to get people to see that not only can I do this, but that it's actually real. Mm-hmm. And that's part of my mission, is that it is real. So if you don't tell me and I sit here and I say, oh yeah, she's red, she's got skin issues, like, you didn't tell me that. Now I said it and you're verifying. Yeah, you can share with it. I'm fine to go in any direction. It's
mostly her paws, but she does get hot spots. It was really bad before we changed her food, but I am curious about her licking. Is it a nervous habit? Is it because she's itching? And then, like I said, she will sometimes either get a hot spot or she'll lick or pull the hair out.
In her paws, I do think it's tied to her nails. Remember I said her nail, and this happens a lot, is I will say something and people will say no. Like I said to someone, Megan, in another issue, we were talking about the heart, and then later it came up like, oh yeah, now I get what you were talking about. So the nails are tied to the paws. Mm-hmm. And there's something in there. She's licking the paws, but I also think it has to do, they're sensitive. So what's the cause? Well, she's got the allergies and she's walking, so she's going to have them. She's sort of matter of fact about it. It's just the way it is. Her body is sensitive. So then she goes back outside and she gets stuff on her paws that are already sensitive from maybe the food. And then she starts licking, and then it gets red, and then it gets sore because it's raw. It's all intertwined.
Okay.
It's just part of daily care kind of thing, she says. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying the kinds of things she's saying. She's saying, this is what I have to deal with. Okay, so she's saying something about shampoo. Sometimes she likes baths, doesn't she?
Well, that was my question. She goes to the groomer every Friday, and they switched allergenic shampoos on her. I was
just going to say, the shampoo, though, changes, and the groomer changes. The groomer changes who's cutting her nails. So seriously, and this has come up before, that the groomer is just like a vet tech can change. They have their favorite people and people who are trained to understand her sensitivity. Like one of my dogs, you can touch her back 2 paws, but you can't touch the front.
Mm-hmm.
And you throw in a different person that doesn't know those nuances, it can have a different outcome. But her paws are sensitive. She says it's part of who I am that makes me special. And those nails are tied to the paws. And if somebody snipped her too much, she's going to lick at her paws if she's uncomfortable. If under her fur, there's a little nick. Got
it. That makes sense.
I think that's part of it because I definitely believe her nails are sensitive. I mean, I did cut one of my dog's toenails once and blood came gushing out, and I've never done it again. And I learned that there's an art to it.
Yeah, I did it too, and I cut her and she bled and she didn't even yip. And it's like I felt so terrible that was the last time I cut her nails. So I hear you.
Yeah. The paws can definitely be allergies. And I know animals, I've got clients who deal with allergies and they resolve the licking with their dog's paws by changing the food or supplementing with the certain either medicine or alternative treatment, holistic goat's milk or whatever that they figure out for their dog. I think your dog's paws are, from what I'm sensing, are tied to the allergies, and she is telling me that those nails are a trigger for her.
Okay.
And shampoos are also, and that's it. Once, if you get the food like figured out, however you're going to do that, she says, I don't have the answers. She knows that it's been a trial and error for the two of you. Mm-hmm. But as that settles down, her system may settle down. So she's not as reactive to shampoos being changed.
Okay.
But on top of that, it's just who she is. Like she says, for her notes for the text, because she's not one to want to rock the boat or complain. She's like, the girls are nice. And I guess there's a guy there too. She's a highly sensitive dog when it comes to her nails.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I have another question. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So the way our house is set up is my mom has her own place that's attached to ours and it's separated by a laundry room. And if I leave...
Hold on a second. You got your house, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we have... our bedroom is at the end of the house, and then there's a laundry room that has a door to our bedroom, okay, and then a door to my mom's place. And then my mom has her own place.
Okay.
So there's just this laundry room that separates it.
Okay.
Oftentimes my mom has her door closed because she has the air conditioning on. I'll leave the house or I'll go to my mom's house and the door's closed. Gracie just stands outside the door. She will bark at dogs that go by in the front, but she will never, ever bark to let us know that she's there. Like she got closed in the bathroom once. She just stayed there.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. So she doesn't want to be a nuisance. So like I could say, just as anybody could say, well, it's probably because she doesn't want to bother you. But she's saying she doesn't want to interrupt anything. Looking out at the people out front or like a doorbell is her job. You know, it's her work. She's doing something useful. Barking because she's locked in a room is different in her mind. It's about her, where the other is protecting you from something or alerting you. See the difference in her work? So that's why she uses the word interrupt. I think I said something like that earlier. She respects you. She loves you. So that she doesn't want to interrupt. She knows you're working now. You're doing your podcast. Mm-hmm. She's not an interrupting kind of dog unless it's for alerting.
Okay. All right.
And she says, you wouldn't want me to do that. I guess sometimes
I wish you would.
Well, no, you wish you would for her care. But if you were talking to someone, she has learned over the years not to interrupt. That's just the flow of your life. She has learned to let you do your thing and you will pay attention to her when you're done. Is that a fair statement?
Well, when she barks at the front door, it kind of irritates us and we use the and
Right.
she seems to really enjoy barking. She's a really easy dog. She's an incredibly easy dog with a very gentle, non-pushy temperament. So I don't feel like we've had to do a lot with her just because she's so bloody easy.
Right. Because that's what I'm saying. That's her rhythm with you, is to just be that way. So she continues that if she's stuck in the bedroom or stuck in the laundry room or whatever. That's not out of character that she wouldn't bark.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally how she lives with you. But alerting you to a so-called stranger, that's also part of who she is and wanting to protect you.
Okay.
Or alert you to something. So to her, it's a very different reason why she would bark. And she doesn't see any difference between, like, when you would say don't bark. That's why she doesn't, because she doesn't want to be told not to bark. She knows it's not necessary. She only does it when she thinks it's necessary.
Okay. Fair enough. And then I have a grown son who's living at home. He moved back home. He has a very unusual way of interacting with her. And so I'm curious to know what she thinks about how he interacts with her.
Oh, so I think he's the one that walks too fast, that his movements alarm her sometimes.
Okay.
When he moves, because he's bigger. He's more unpredictable, is what she said.
Yeah.
The word is unpredictable.
Anything else about how he interacts with her? Because he has a very unusual way of interacting with her directly.
She says he makes different noises. Some of them she does not like. She does not like at all. It's like a grrr. She does not like it. She says it's alarming, and the word is unpredictable. He's unpredictable.
Okay.
Yeah. So you were laughing. Does he make that noise?
He goes, Gracie, baby. He's a really sweet kid, but he does not speak dog, and he likes to kind of capture her neck between his legs gently. I mean, he'll be standing, but he kind of locks her. He picks her up and kind of holds her up in the air.
That's what I said, is she's afraid her body's going to get stuck between the legs. Remember when I said that about walking down the hallway?
Yeah.
That's exactly what she said. She doesn't like it. She doesn't feel safe. It's unsettling.
Okay. And she's so agreeable that I've never heard her growl at anybody. I've never heard her, she just is like, she just goes with the flow. So there's nothing that you can see that she does that indicates that she doesn't like it. Oh,
you know what she says? She goes, well, I said I didn't like feeling like my body was going to get stuck between the legs. I mean, okay. I remember saying that a little while ago.
You did. And I wasn't thinking in terms of that. So, yep, that's it exactly.
So she said it. And, some people will say things once and not say it again because they feel like, well, I said it. I tried.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's sort of like that because here's the other thing. Overall, she's very happy and she loves her home. She is an agreeable dog. And that's why I like animal communication. And I want to share with people is that an animal will let you know what it doesn't like. I mean, most animals don't just bite. My daughter was bit by a dog that she knew and loved, and the dog got spooked because she was walking and she slowed down and she turned around to look for the dog, and he jumped up and bit her because he didn't like that. But looking back, we could see the signs. It's like he didn't like being close to people. If we tune into a dog, we will know what they want. That they usually give us signs and they will communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And we can try and train them or say, oh, she's just agreeable. No, she's over and over said that she doesn't like sudden movements. It's not the person. So she's not saying it's her son. She's very clear. Like I said, I've had people say, I don't like one of the three roommates, or I don't like your one roommate that she shuts the door. That wasn't, it wasn't about the roommate. It was about the door. Animals will tell me that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, we'll be having a talk with the boy tonight.
But she's like, what if we just sat on the couch? You know, she wants that. And she considers herself a little bit older and slower. And she's like, go slow with me, be patient.
Yeah. I mean, she loves to lay with him on the bed and she does go to him. And there are times that, he's young and just is not really very attuned.
Yeah, well, maybe he'll learn about animal communication.
Maybe. Liz, I want to give you a chance to talk about what you do and why it's important in your podcast, because I just love the work that you're doing. I'm addicted to your podcast. I told you before we started recording, I was jonesing for an episode to drop, and I didn't know when they dropped, and it dropped today, and I was so excited. Just because it's so fascinating, and it's really helped me to start looking at Gracie and kind of think about her more in terms of being able to communicate and what do I know she likes and what do I know she doesn't like. And it's just really kind of been transformational for me. So I'd love to give you a chance to talk about your podcast and really anything that you think is really important for the listeners to know.
Oh, well, thank you. I love doing this. I was in a car accident when I was in my 20s, and I was laying there on the table in the emergency room, and it was just like this mantra of like, you got to just really live. And it took me years to figure out what it means to do something that matters. And for me, my gift is with dogs, and I can understand them, and it drives me crazy how many wonderful, healthy dogs are taken to animal shelters, and some of them, it's the best place for them, but they don't get out alive because there's just not enough homes or fosters. And it's like, if people can understand that the dogs can communicate, and it might be like, just stop doing something that your dog doesn't like, whether it's roughhousing or it doesn't like the food, it makes it sick, that if people can learn to make adjustments, then it'll be easier to keep their dog, and they'll have a better relationship with it. And, not that their dogs are going to live forever. And I understand that, and I understand certainly people can't always take care of their dogs, but life happens, and sometimes they need to rehome it. But if I can help people who have a dog with an issue, or the person has the issue figuring out what to do to take care of a dog, then I feel like that's something I can help them do, because I've been doing it for many years, and I just see the difference that it makes. And so, having had my own recovery from an accident and all that, is like, okay, so I'm lucky to be alive. How am I going to live my life? I feel like, well, I can use my gifts in this way, and I feel better about it. So that's why this podcast is important to me, because I feel like it's my way of contributing to the issue of overpopulation of dogs, or the euthanasia rate. I can do that. I can't have a house full of dogs and foster them all. So it's like, what can I do? So if this can make a difference, I want to do that. I like the podcast because I can get the content too. I can talk to people, and then I can get the notes from it, and I can use it for blog posts. And it's another way to get information out. Some people want to listen to a podcast, but other people would rather go to Instagram and see a story and learn that way, or they want to read a book, or I go into classrooms and I talk to kids about it. So I love going out and talking to people about dogs and dog care and educating, and it's fun, it's creative. It allows me to do what matters to me in my life, but still have fun. So that's why I do all of this.
That's great. It's really an amazing podcast. Why don't you tell everybody what the name is? I'll put it in the show notes at unapologeticallysensitive.com, and I'll mention it at the beginning of the podcast too. But why don't you tell people the name of your podcast?
So it's Talking with the Dogs, and I interview dogs and their people. So it's very unusual. For those of you who haven't heard it yet, I interview dogs and find out what they want their people to know, much like what we've done today. And it's on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever you find that. I have a website, Talking with the Dogs, if anyone wants to get more information about what I do. I do speaking engagements, and so they can find me there, Instagram. But yeah, Talking with the Dogs.
Yeah, I love your podcast.
Thank you. So it comes out every Tuesday, and I've got I try and do a wide variety of people. So next week will be Dan, the dog dad, who is sort of a cynic on animal communication. And so we find out his takeaway from learning how it works and what he thinks and being blown away. And so it's fun. And I've got a physical therapist and intuition people foodies. So a wide range of people.
Oh,
and people can sign up to be a guest. I try and mix it up so not everyone would qualify to be a guest, but they can sign up for a session and book a session by emailing me at the Talking with the Dogs website. But they can also, I am looking for other guests too. So if they're a right fit for a cross section of people, I'm happy to look into that.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I'm just trying to figure out where to go from here. I want to hear more about Gracie, but I feel like I've asked you an awful lot. So is there one last thing that you could, I don't know, ask her? I don't have any.
So you know what I'd like to do? Sure. I love asking dogs, what would you like your person to know? So I think that's a perfect way. I end most of my sessions with that. So I'm going to ask Gracie, what would you like Patricia to know about anything? And let's see what she has to say. Okay. So, she's very sweet. She likes her private time with you. She wants to encourage you to have faith in your ability to talk to her and understand what she's saying. Oh, this is really sweet. She says that she wants you to trust your own intuition. And when it's just the two of you quiet, I have this image of the two of you together, and she says she wants you to trust that this is real and that you can do it. And that sometimes you might not think that it makes sense. I'm sitting here with my eyes closed trying to get this, but she's very slow and steady as she's saying this. You might have difficulty believing it's true and difficulty with it making sense on what she's saying. She says she's funny. She goes, but sometimes that's who you are, that you get it as an aha and like a puzzle. And she says, look at it that way. Oh, and now she's laughing. That's it. Okay. So sometimes I get, and then it flows. She says, take your time to decipher what I say so that you can get to the aha moment of it all makes sense, what she's telling you. And she would rather tell you things directly to you because you are a private person. And she's like, it's not appropriate for a podcast. It's not even something that needs to go through me when she can tell you. She'd rather tell you directly. And that's what she wants you to know, is to trust that she's telling you things.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think since I knew that we were going to be talking, I've been talking a lot this last week of what do I want to know? What do I think? What do I think I believe? And then starting to talk to her directly. I listened to one of your episodes where the dog said it really liked clean water in its dish and she doesn't drink a lot. And I thought, I'm not really great about changing the water in her bowl. So just being more conscientious or being more aware of how I talk about her and kind of...
Especially in front of her.
Say a little bit more about that.
In front of her. So she doesn't want to be talked about as an object. Like some dogs could care less. Mm-hmm. She likes to be included in the you will notice a shift when you include her in the conversation, even with people who don't believe, because she does understand. Like I just treat my dogs as they understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Like I have them with me when they interview dog sitters, and if they don't like the dog sitter, they're not hired.
Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting. I mean, they will blink their eyes at me if they like the person, and they will walk out of the room if they don't. Yes. She wants you to keep doing what you're doing and trust. And I see you doing it when it's the two of you. You like very close, very personal, snuggling, like listening to her, and she will tell you a lot of things.
Okay. Well, I work from home. She's almost always on my lap, especially when I record. But during the day when I work, she likes being physically close with me. It's interesting. She has seizures, so she's on 2 kinds of medication. I think we give her medicine 3 times a day. She hears, but she can't tell where sound is coming from. Because she had seizures for so long without medication, she often seems like she's a little confused. She gets turned around. So, we haven't really known sometimes what her capacity is because she'll just kind of stand, or she'll stand looking at a corner and Yeah. So this is just really interesting.
Yeah. Well, that's like that fuzziness I said in the front of her head, down the front of her body.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it doesn't bother her. I've talked to deaf animals. A lot of them don't, it doesn't bother them. There can be inconveniences,
Yeah.
but that's us. She has her thing. Like you put her in the sun, she's got the best life ever. It's like, what difference does it make if she can't hear? She can feel the sunshine. So it's what's bothering them. Is a big thing. But I have a question. Did she do anything different during any of our conversation today?
When she was on my lap and she does this thing where she looks at me a lot. She really likes to visually track. And because I know she doesn't see very much, I've always been curious about if I hand her to somebody she's social, she loves to go to people, but she will keep her eye on me if somebody else is holding her. And so for the first part of our conversation, she was on my lap and she often would stop and, she puts her head backwards up to look at me. And then I set her down and she's been sleeping ever since. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I was just curious. Sometimes dogs will do something different depending on a topic of the conversation.
Yeah. She tends to be pretty, like I said, low key. I don't know if she even knows that she has seizures. I don't even know if she knows that she is limited in what she can see, because she, like I said, is a pretty confident, very easygoing, friendly dog who loves people, loves animals. She's just kind of really unusually sweet.
Well, I don't think that the seizures are something, they're like waves that pass through her. Mm-hmm. So they're just part of life. For her. They're part of her normal thing. Like the leg is more of an inconvenience, but it's like she'd rather just go for a walk. So it's just part of her life. The essence of her life is what I get from her.
Sure. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for being so generous with your time with both of us today. I really appreciate it. And for the listeners, if this is the least bit interesting to you, check out Liz's podcast because it's just amazing.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate your support. It's a new podcast, so I appreciate feedback. I think somebody said it takes up to 50 to really get a groove, but I'm having fun, so I'm going to keep doing it. But I appreciate the support very much.
Yeah, yeah. Is there anything else before we go? Anything else that we didn't talk about that feels important for you to mention?
I guess for people to just consider the truth of the talking with the dogs kind of thing, that there is, I just encourage them to see what happens and how it might change their own relationship with the animal in their life. That's, what I think matters too. I'd love it if they listen to podcasts, but if they don't get around to it, I hope that I planted a seed that might improve the relationship between people and animals.
It's been really, like I said, transformational since I started listening to your podcast and really started thinking about how much I know about the dog and, that she loves kids and she loves people and she loves when we go out because she gets really animated. And I don't think I was really sensitive and tuned into those things. And so I've really kind of rethought. She used to go to work with me. She's a service dog. And when I started working from home, she kind of retired. And I think she really misses going out as much as she did. So I'm really trying to think about how can I incorporate that more, because I know how much she loves being around people.
Oh, she does. She calls them outings. She loves them. Mm-hmm. And it's like the partnership. And she's like, just keep me close to you. That's important. She can't walk in a crowd like some dogs. Mm-hmm. But, you've got your harness and you can scoop her up if you need to. And you're very good at talking about her and you take it all in stride. That you really, it's like you belong together. A lot of people would not want a dog that they have to clean up after they're eating and they've had issues with the food. And you take all of her issues in stride and you have a wonderful life with her. And so she's a great ambassador and you can keep doing that. She wants to go out.
Yep. She gives me the look if I'm going to leave and I'm not going to take her. And then I feel really guilty. And so I often will like taking her because I know she's like, come on, just take me with you. And other times she's just like, see ya.
That's right. Well, that's part of listening. What does she want to go? Maybe she knows something.
Yep. Liz, thank you so much. This has just been really fun. And yeah.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your support of Talking with the Dogs.
Oh, you're very welcome. Have a great day.
Okay, you too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey again. So I'm curious to know what you thought. Should Gracie start a podcast about cats? Every time I ask her, she looks up and she cocks her head. It's just very adorable. What I want to let you know is the day that I recorded this episode, I cut the clip where I asked Liz about how my son interacts with Gracie. He's a well-intentioned, gentle boy who just, was thinking about himself and not the dog. So I sent him a clip of what she said, and we talked about it that night when he got home from work. He has totally changed how he interacts with her. He no longer holds her up like she's the Lion King, and he doesn't trap her head between his legs anymore. He just has been so loving and respectful with how he interacts with her. And I see her responding differently to him. And it's kind of funny that he'll take pictures and put pictures of her on his Instagram page. And it's interesting. He wants to give her snacks now. I was in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, and he actually called me in San Francisco asking if he could give her a strawberry. She's allergic to so many things, as you heard. So he's really been wanting to give her snacks. The other thing is I made sure that I talked to the groomer and went over that they've got to be really careful with her nails, with her skin, making sure they continue to use the correct shampoo and not switch hypoallergenic shampoos. They've got to be really careful of her eyes and ears because apparently she's a highly sensitive dog. And then with her diet, I did start adding some veggies in. She really seemed to enjoy it. It looked like it was going fine, and then she started to have some allergic reactions. So I've just backed off, and then I'm going to need to start adding things back in slower. But I really just love this episode and the information that Liz had to share. The HSP online courses are going to be launching again in January of 2020, and I'm going to be getting some more information to you soon. But if you're struggling with relationships or communicating what your needs are as a highly sensitive person, you struggle with self-care, you struggle with the traits of being highly sensitive, you're feeling overwhelmed, it's difficult for you to let people know what you want or need, or having to set boundaries, or conflict is very difficult for you, or your life is feeling out of balance, I would encourage you to go to my website at unapologeticallysensitive.com. There's a tab for the HSP online courses. Please keep checking back. I'm going to be adding more information. I'm running 3 courses now, and my plan is to do at least one webinar before January. I'm hoping that some of the people that are in the courses will do a podcast episode with me. We'll do some Facebook Live so that you can actually hear from the people that are having these experiences, how powerful it is. What I want to do is read you something that somebody from the course sent me as feedback after we had a session, because I think that I can keep telling you how great it is, but unless you hear from the people that are experiencing it, you need that credibility. So what this person said is, "Thank you all for the support that you gave me. This work and the support is exactly what I knew I wanted from the group before it began, what I had hoped it would mean to me. And you are all better than I could have imagined possible when it comes to compassion and space and understanding and support. It really means the world to me." And this was after a challenging session that this person had, and we really provided some support. I made a recommendation that she do some recording, and we had talked about often as highly sensitive people, we get triggered and we kind of forget that we're adults. We feel like we're kids walking around in adult bodies. So I had said, you're a woman. So she continues to say, "I made my recording and have already listened to it half a dozen times this morning while getting ready. Also, I keep telling myself I'm a grown-ass woman." Thanks for that, Patricia. If you want any more information about the groups, what I'm going to be doing is check out the Facebook page that we have. There's an open page called Unapologetically Sensitive. We have a closed private group by the same name. There are a couple of questions to answer in order to be admitted into the group. So there'll be more information coming out in the future if you're interested. And I do have a wait list already going for some of the courses. So if you are interested, feel free to drop me a line and let me know that you want to be on a wait list so that there's a space for you when the courses start. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your support, all of you who reach out and talk to me. Remember, sensitivity is nothing to apologize for. It's our superpower. Have a blessed day.